If you like the idea of a lightweight yarn that looks and feels like a luxury blend, but doesn't come with a luxury level price tag or special care requirements, this episode is for you. Hey there, yarn crazies. Welcome to my review of Wool Pop by Universal Yarns. It's a wonderfully soft blend of bamboo and wool with nice drape, but not too much, has a hint of shine, but not too much, and comes in a bunch of great colors and can go in the washing machine. That's one heck of a checklist, right? Many years ago, Universal released a yarn called Bamboo Pop, and it has been a staple for a lot of knitters and crocheters since it debuted. The color palette is great. It has a silky texture that is a joy to wear, and it could go in the washing machine. No wonder it was a huge hit. But today we are looking at a Bamboo Pop's lighter, warmer sibling called Wool Pop, and I have to take my hat off to the folks at Universal for this one. I really love this yarn. Let's dive into the details on why. Wool Pop is comprised of 50% bamboo, 35% superwash wool, and 15% polyamide for stabilization. It has 284 yards or 260 meters per each 100 gram skein, and the care instructions are to machine wash on warm and tumble dry low. The recommended needle size for this yarn is a 4mm or a US 6, and the recommended crochet hook size is also a 4mm or a G hook. Based on those sizes, that places this yarn in the DK weight category, which is kind of interesting to me considering that every single one of my wraps per inch tests all consistently yielded 13 wraps per inch, which would put this yarn so close to the bottom of the sport weight category, it would be almost but not quite a fingering weight. This is one of those situations in which a whippy tool can't tell you everything, and you really need to consider taking a look at the content and the structure of a yarn to help you decide if it's going to be a good option for a project. This yarn blooms a great deal when you wash it, and here is a close-up shot where you can see why. See the multiple plies? And each of those is itself a 2-ply strand. I'm going to guess that the interesting plying method contributes to Wool Pop's softness, and those skinny strands of bamboo and a tiny little bit of polyamide are definitely where this yarn gets its little bit of sheen. Let's take a look at some swatches, shall we? Here's my washed knit swatch, which I did on a US size 4 instead of the recommended 6, but I only use that size because I'm a fairly loose knitter. Look at the drape on this thing. The stitch definition is great even after washing opens up the yarn and brings out a very subtle amount of halo. I hit the target gauge listed on the label of 22 stitches per 4 inches, and the fabric feels fantastic at that density. Here is the washed crochet swatch with rows of half double crochet on the bottom and Tunisian simple stitch on the top. I have to say that this is the only place where I disagree with what the manufacturers put on the label for recommendations. I did the half double crochet section with a 4.5mm or a size 7 hook, and unless you are a crazy loose knitter, I personally wouldn't recommend going any smaller if you want your fabric to stay nice and soft. The Tunisian section was done on an H hook or a 5mm, and while I like how it looks and feels, I would definitely be tempted to go up to an I hook instead, just to maintain softness. This last screen is showing the unwashed fabrics on the left and washed fabrics on the right. The blooming and filling in of this fabric is most obvious in the Tunisian fabric, surprisingly. Now let's talk colors. Wool Pop currently comes in 30 colors, and all of them exhibit some degree of heathering thanks to the way the mixed fiber content took the dyes. The effect is more subtle in the lighter colors and extremely strong in the darker colorways like this one. It's a gorgeous effect, isn't it? One of the things I really like about this yarn is the slightly increased visibility of colors that are normally a little difficult to work with. There are a lot of even experienced knitters and crocheters who refuse to work in black, charcoal, and dark navy blue because the stitches can be hard to see and the fabric can be hard to read, while other people tend to have the same trouble with colors like bright white. The tiny little bits of sheen in this yarn seem to give the eyes something to find to focus on while you were working with it. When I made a sweater with the sterling silver color, I found I could see what I was doing just fine in a lot lower light level than I normally knit or crochet in. So are you itching to work with it yet? If you don't already have a pattern in mind to maybe use with Wool Pop, let's look at some patterns. Universal has 15 patterns on their website that all call for Wool Pop. Some of them are real stunners, so I can highly recommend starting your search there. But if none of those quite suit you, here are a few that I found on Ravelry I think would be fantastic fits for this yarn. For you knitters, may I recommend Lotus Blossom Shrug, the Zephyr Cardigan, the Celestina Shawl, or the Wishbone Headband and Hannah Wrist Warmers. For you crocheters, you might look at the Topaz Tee, the Chloe Vest, or maybe the Adina 2-way vest, which is currently in my queue to make. You are probably wondering why I have yet to show you the sweater I mentioned making with Wool Pop. That's because I love what I made, but it was a serious case of being overly ambitious and possibly slightly insane. I fell really hard for this backless high neck sweater pattern called Brie. It calls for a worsted weight cotton and cashmere blend called Truba. Folks, even for a skinny lizard like me, a cashmere sweater would never get worn living in southern Arizona as I do. So I stuck a round peg in a square hole and I used Wool Pop instead, and it was quite the process. I adore the finished object and I highly recommend the pattern, but I definitely cannot recommend anyone else try it with Wool Pop the way that I did unless you really enjoy digging yourself into a hole and back out again the way I apparently do. On the flip side, I can personally attest to just how soft and sensitive skin friendly this yarn really is. My Brie is a fitted garment and I love how it feels on a cold day. Now being June, I know most of you are probably more likely to want to work right now with Bamboo Pop since it is a 50-50 blend of cotton and bamboo. But eventually the cool weather will come again, and I really wanted you folks who live in places where summer evenings can still have a bit of a chill to really, to know that this yarn is a great option for light layers like shrugs and shawls and so forth. Thanks for watching today, and I hope it got you excited to try this yarn and maybe stash some if you come across it during your summer travels, or if it shows up at your favorite local yarn shop. If you found this helpful or at least entertaining, do me a really big favor, hit the subscribe and notifications buttons down below and share this episode with other yarn crazies in your life. I hope summer is treating you well, and no matter what you are doing this time of year, please don't forget to take time to sit down and make some things that make you happy.